Okay, whoa. You gotta bring that shit back.
It's good to have you with us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the GoldenBaby channel. I hope you all are doing fine and healthy during this season. I wanted to do a mini documentary on one of my favorite independent artists, rapper and singer, Tink. Tink is an artist who has been compared to Lauryn Hill and The Brat and had a potential promising mainstream career. Now let's be clear, because some of you guys get confused by the titles and wording in these videos sometimes. Tink still has a career, still makes music and does her thing. But in this video, we're going to break down why her mainstream career didn't take off the way it was supposed to. Now, before I get into today's topic, I'm super excited to let y'all know that this video is sponsored by Embrace Pangea. Embrace Pangea is a holistic company offering premium, herb-infused, natural hygiene products and herbal detoxes. They have a wide variety of products to fit your daily health and hygienic needs, such as the Essential 18 Detox Tea. Now, this tea is packed with 18 powerful essential herbs that's going to help you get rid of those nasty toxins in your body, which in turn is going to have you looking and feeling a whole lot better. They also carry the Pangea wash, which is very popular and 5-star rated. Now, this feminine wash is all natural and pH balanced with both rose and honeysuckle extracts. Look sis, it's 2020 and it's time to start taking care of your body the way nature intended. You've been saying that you want to level up on your self-care game anyway, right? So head on over to embracepangea.com to find your new favorite holistic care products. Now let's get into it. Tink was born as Trinity Home on March 15, 1995, close to Chicago, Illinois. She started singing at 5 years old in her church's choir. She then began writing music at 11 and started rapping and recording music when she was just 15 in her father's basement. She attended Simeon Career Academy in Chicago and would write music while in school. She eventually came up with her first mixtape called Winter's Diary in 2011. Around this time, Chicago drill rap music was the popular sound. The music embodies the reality of real life in the streets of Chicago. Already a local movement of its own, drill music became a nationwide movement in the early 2010s, with rappers like Chief Keef becoming a mainstream success. There weren't too many singers emerging from the area during the drill music movement, with a few exceptions such as Tony Romiti. Tink, who could rap but also had a love for R&B, felt that since the rap music was more popular among her peers, that's what she would focus on. She made a buzz for herself after remixing Chief Keef's 300, which got his attention and led to even more recognition for Tink as an artist. Still, Tink made R&B music in between, and by January 2014, she had released 5 mixtapes, with Winter's Diary 2 being the most recent at the time. Winter's Diary 2 featured a song called Treat Me Like Somebody, which has been covered and sampled by many.
I just want somebody,
And also the viral How Could You Play Me cover and challenge used a small piece of Tink's melody from that song.
I just want somebody, body.
Just want somebody. I just want somebody.
Just my body.
Treat me like somebody.
Some months later that same year, Tink released Don't Tell Nobody with Jeremiah, another song that resonated well with women all over who have dealt with cheating partners, and also inspired a line in viral YouTube star and singer Queen Naja's first official release called Medicine.
I'ma call up Brian. I'ma FaceTime Ryan. I'ma text Brian, FaceTime Ryan.
This is a song that also made it to the interns of iconic producer Timbaland, who called Tink to work with him once he heard the track. Tink was really nervous to go out to meet Timbaland. After all, he is a profound artist and producer. Some of his greatest known productions include Pony, Super Duper Fly, Pass That Dutch, Big Pimpin', Sexy Back, Get Me Bodied, Drunken Love, Icebox. The list really goes on and on. Nevertheless, Tink agreed, and Timbaland flew Tink out to LA and Miami over a matter of a few weeks to work together. At one point, Timbaland presented Tink with a track between Jay-Z and Rick Ross. Tink took the track back to her hotel room where she worked her hardest to show her pen game off alongside 2 established male rappers. However, when Timbaland played the track for Rick Ross, Ross, he didn't want Tink's involvement, even though Jay-Z liked Tink's bar-for-bar verses and was open to keeping her on the song. Rick Ross said it was a track between him and Jay-Z, and it should be left at that. Rick Ross's decision to keep the track titled Moving Bass as is and to release it with his album Hood Billionaire in November of that year didn't stop Timbaland from playing Tink's version of the record on the radio show The Breakfast Club. Of course, Rick Ross didn't like this and spoke about it on MTV.
Yeah. So how did this, both versions I think are dope, but how did it go from that version we heard MB play to this version we hear now?
You know, Timbaland released his version that I was real disappointed in hearing. You know, me and Jay created the original version.
Yeah.
That's one of the records we vibed up, when we had a couple sessions, you know what I mean? And of course, Timbaland produced it and, had the production on it for a little while. And, I went by the studio before and he played me the version and I was like, I see what you did, but, chill on that, you know what I mean? We're doing our thing on that, you know what I mean? So, I was disappointed in homie on that. That was a little,
How did y'all
your version was what we hear on Hood Billionaire is the original Moving Bass and what we heard. Because I think people thought it was the other way around, like your version was derived from the Tink version.
Right, and that's why, that was one of the things I was disappointed in homie. I just felt like, we bigger than that. We bosses. And I expect homie to clarify that whenever he, make his rounds. But most definitely, me and Jay did that record and it is what it is.
How did you and Timbo resolve it though? Did y'all speak on it or?
Oh yeah, we most definitely spoke. He most definitely, it's all love. It's all good. You know how we do it, Triple C 305.
Okay, so y'all continue to work together. Ain't no division between y'all.
He gotta handle that. He gotta fix that. He most definitely gotta fix that.
Before y'all can work together again.
And I ain't gonna even say work together again. He just gotta fix his problem.
That problem.
Yeah, I believe that.
Okay, Ricky Rose is here.
Tink's fans were very disappointed when they heard Tink's version of Moving Bass because that could have been a career-changing track. 2014 was the same year that Iggy Azalea jump-started her career with Fancy and Black Widow. Also the same year that Dej Love started to rise with Try Me, and that year for Nicki Minaj, she released her highest charting song, Anaconda, and her album, The Pink Print. All of this that same year. This posed a question to Tink's fans of, if she was one of those other girls, would Rick Ross still have made the same decision? Was he just not checking for Tink because she was a 19-year-old underground artist who had yet to make the same noise as Iggy or Dej Loaf? Or have the same look and stardom as Nicki Minaj, someone who Rick Ross has worked with multiple times? Or was it really because he just wanted the song to stay between him and Jay? After all, he had already worked with Jay-Z before on his last album that had released that same year, and the version with Tink on it was really good. I'll make sure I'll link it in the description. And that wasn't the only time Timbaland tried to hook Tink up with other well-known rappers. The same exact thing happened when Timbaland had Tink jump on a song called UFO with Andre 3000 and Future. It was clear that Timbaland saw something in Tink and felt that she deserved spots in high places, but the artists he was trying to introduce her to just weren't having it. Tink and Timbaland continued to work together, and she went on to sign to his label Mosley Music Group through Epic Records. In March of 2015, Timbaland brought a freshly 20-year-old Tink to the South by Southwest Fader Fort Festival. At this event, Tink performed an unreleased song sampling a hit record by the late singer Aaliyah. After she finished her performance, Timbaland revealed something to the audience, and this is what he said.
I don't touch baby girl's record. Y'all know that's Aaliyah. I was riding home one day, sleep. She spoke to me in my sleep and said she's the one. Aaliyah spoke to me and said she's the one. I'm not saying that she's better than Aaliyah.
Now, this was a big deal because in addition to all those other well-known and hit records I mentioned earlier, Timbaland was also Aaliyah's main producer. Aaliyah was and still is a very respected and talked about R&B singer, amongst other things like acting. No one ever really had anything bad to say about Aaliyah, and she, Timbaland, and Missy Elliott were like a dream team, and very close. Timbaland produced some of her biggest records, including 1 in a Million, which is the original sample for the unreleased track that Tink performed at South by Southwest. After Aaliyah's life got cut short due to a plane accident in 2001, her music was to remain untouched. It wasn't until 2012 and 2013 that Drake and Chris Brown were allowed to use Aaliyah's vocals, and Aaliyah's family and close ones were so protective of her livelihood and her work that her music wasn't even available on streaming platforms until 2020. So the controversy that stirred up from Timbaland's statement was big and grew more intense months later when the actual single Million was released. Tink faced a great deal of backlash, as most thought she was trying to compare herself to Aaliyah, or in a sense trying to be the next Aaliyah, trying to take Aaliyah's place, and so on and so forth. Later on, Tink reflected on the incident with Timbaland at the festival, saying, "I remember that day like yesterday because when we got off the stage, I went to my room and kind of just threw a mini tantrum. I couldn't believe how it played out. I definitely would never want to replace Aaliyah or fill in her shoes. Me and Timbaland, we had to talk about things like that, and that was just in addition to what I noticed about the industry. All it takes is one sentence or one line, one thing like that, and it'll go far." Tink also spoke about it in an interview here.
So, who started this conversation of redoing an Aaliyah song? Because it doesn't get done very often.
You're right. It was Tim's idea. You know, I was shocked. I was very shocked when he presented that record. Like, you know, I knew how sacred that shit was, and I knew just how many, you know, how many heads would turn when they heard it. So I understand it's very like sensitive. He's very sensitive about her. So, you know, I wanted to do the beat justice. I took that into consideration, and that was the thing. Like, I didn't want people were taking the song as if, you know, Timbaland was trying to recreate Aaliyah, or, you know, as if I wanted to be the next Aaliyah, and I'm like, no. You know what I mean? Like, before I was working with Timbaland, I have my own lane. You know what I mean? I have songs that are blowing up as well. You know, I'm never trying to bite off anyone's style. You can't be Aaliyah.
Right.
Feel me?
You can't be Aaliyah.
We take bits and pieces. She inspires a lot, but you can't be.
By this time, Tink had put together a full album exclusively produced by Timbaland titled Think Tink. Million, which was the second leading single from that album, didn't do as well as expected. Although it did better than the first single, Ratchet Commandments, neither song charted the Hot 100 Billboard. Even with Tink getting recognition, such as making it onto the XXL freshman class of 2015, alongside Fetty Wap, K-Camp, Dej Loaf, Shy Glizzy, and Vince Staples, Tink's musical releases just weren't going as planned. So Timbaland decided to hold off on releasing the album, and ultimately Epic Records withdrew the budget. Tink became very frustrated as she was used to doing 2 mixtapes a year at least. So on July 30th, 2015, she dropped Winter's Diary 3, the third mixtape in this series. And about a year later, in 2016, she released Winter's Diary 4. She continued to work with Timbaland during this time, but the two were in and out. Tink was still frustrated with the label, Timbaland, and the way she was being handled as an artist. Tink's manager at the time also claimed that Tink was not willing to do the runaround, basically saying she wasn't interested in getting into the good graces with the right people, didn't want to fake the funk just for social media. Her label didn't like her resistance to network how they wanted her to, in addition to low music sales, which stalled her career. During this time, Tink was quoted speaking about women in the industry. She said, "I just know how it is dealing with these execs, these male-dominated offices. We're made to feel like we're less than, or as if we're not taking it as serious as some of the other guys. It's really just egos, that's it. It's nothing more than egos." After the release of Winter's Diary 4 in late August of 2016, Tink went on a social media hiatus for about 6 months. At the time of this interview in spring of 2017, she had last spoken to Timbaland that past November.
Now, what's the plan? Is the plan to still put out an album? Or are you going to start dropping mixtapes, singles?
Yo, my plan for myself, I want to release an EP this year. Okay. And that's the thing, like, I'm not waiting on anyone anymore. You know, like I said, when we were making the album, I was taking direction from other people. Now it's like I see what it is and what it isn't. So this year I want to release an official EP. I don't know when my debut album will drop, but I'm gonna do it the right way so that when it does, it's big as hell. And I wanna put out an EP. I don't mind dropping tapes, but I definitely wanna, throw it up the official way. Yeah, I gotta go sit down and talk with Tim again. I haven't spoken with him in a while, since maybe I went to see him in Miami last November or something. So we haven't spoke. I've been working, he been working. But yeah, I'm gonna get my together on my end.
Shortly after her return to social media and this interview, Tink decided to take the matters of her career into her own hands legally. By the end of 2017, she was free from Timbaland, Mosley, and Epic Records with rights to her own music. She wasted no time in getting her EP together as she wished for, and released Pain and Pleasure as her first EP in March of 2018. Tink continued to work as she knew how, releasing out-of-project songs here and there, working with other artists such as Eric Bellinger, Queen Key, Maya, and she also dropped another mixtape in 2019 called Voicemails, and finally released her first studio album titled Hopeless Romantic in 2020, almost 5 years after Think Tink was supposed to release, and more than 10 years after she actually began recording music. Both her EP and album made it onto the Billboard 200, and she now releases her music through her own label called Winter's Diary. Tink is now 25 years old, and although she has the rights to all of her old unreleased music now, she has expressed that she isn't interested in releasing any of her previous work with Timbaland. She wanted to start over with her music, and that's exactly what she did. It seems like labels are the common problems for why many of these artists have stalled careers and don't meet their full potential. As I said earlier, it's obvious what Timbaland was trying to do for Tink, but maybe the focus should have been artist development and exposure in the right way before trying to push OG male artists to work with her. Thankfully for Tink, it took her less than a year to gain independence, whereas for other artists, it took close to a decade to own their own voice. Let me know if you guys listen to Tink, and if so, what's your favorite song? How do you feel about the way Timbaland handled Tink as an artist? Be sure to leave your comments and opinions down below. Like the video if you want more content like this, and then head over to embracepangea.com for your natural self-care and health needs.